me record.
Yeah, can you do it in the bottom of the screen?
The bottom of the screen.
Or wherever
It
your
shows
controls are.
recording.
It does show
Yeah.
it's recording?
Yes.
Oh, okay, mine doesn't, so, all right.
Well, it said that this meeting's being recording, and I could see a red dot showing recording, but it kind of looks like
okay.
it's on the tab, the go-to meeting, but it
Oh,
just
I
might be
see.
where it's showing
Okay,
screen.
no, I see it too. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Yep, no problem.
Okay.
What was your question, Jessica?
Is there on the site you created or on the FitMetrics site something that shows what permissions go with each level for when the studios ask, you know, what each of them can see or do?
Kind of. I have a little bit of blurb down here as far as access levels based off of what FitMetrics put together. Access to full schedule appointment classes, ability to assign trainers to clients, run reports, included financial, set up users, update, reset passwords. Then the trainer login, start session, add assessments to calendars, does not link to MindBody, full access to client profile and ability to perform full assessment, run client reports.
There's a third one though too, isn't there?
Well, it's your front desk, so it's going to be the same as your trainer.
Okay, it's just called something different, but it's the exact same.
Yeah, so once again, when you logged into it, you can create a user based off of, and once again, FT is probably not going to use any of those other ones, but you have your facility, your location, and then you have your trainer and front desk.
Okay.
I think were the four that they had.
So then with this piece, is the studio going to expect that you're going to set up logins for everybody, or is it, again, you're going to set up the one facility one and the owner one, and then it's on them to set up the rest?
It's kind of been with the pilot studios, I set up theirs, and then I had some documentation on how to set up their own for their trainers. So the expectation, I guess, going forward is we set up for the studio owner, and then the studio owner is going to provide a list. And once again, this is more of a kind of a collaborative where it's kind of the studio. I want them to think about this at least, and not think that we're just going to set up everything. So this is going to be a document that they submit or at least fill out, and then it's going to be, okay, we have these, 5 trainers. It's going to be, here's how you enter in a trainer into the system. Here's how you create their username and password, and then go ahead and do the rest for the rest of the individuals. And I might have a YouTube video on this as well. I don't know for sure.
Okay. Do you guys have the ability to reset their own password?
Like if I'm a trainer?
Yeah, because I see on the document there that it's staff name, username, password, access level. And so I'm asking for, can we just set them up with a password and then tell them to log in and change it to what they want it to be?
Uh-huh. If you really wanted to. But yeah, they have access to that.
Okay.
Some of the other stuff that they have in here is going to be, once we get all that stuff kind of fleshed out, then it kind of boils into the whole training aspect of it. Once again, I have YouTube clips in here. I'm probably going to update a couple of them and kind of walk through a couple different functionality pieces now that the software has been updated. But once again, it's really becoming familiar with the software, which links to this page. And then it's a how to use, which gets a little bit more in depth, which links to that page. Now I won't get into that, because once again, it's just kind of, here's how you do things and all that fun stuff. The next thing is going to be your feedback forms. I built this out. Once again, if they have any questions, what I really want to do is try to funnel everybody's questions and comments outside of email, because I was starting to get quite a few of them. So I designed this to say, hey, if you have any kind of feedback, Once again, if you have a system bug, enhancement request, assessment test request, operational question, anything else under the sun, please submit it through here. And it goes into, once again, a Google form, so then I can just download that document and review that on a weekly basis, is what I was doing with the pilot group. Is kind of how that works. Then the last thing is going to be your FAQs.
Quick question, sir.
Yep.
If it's a bug or an other, do you just submit it directly to FitMetrics and let the studio know that FitMetrics is working on it? Or
Correct.
What do you do with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a bug, a lot of the stuff that's coming over that we had issues with where they considered it a bug was entered in measurements and tried saving it, but it didn't save or something like that. So basically, it was just kind of one of those things where I read through all the things that they labeled as bugs on a weekly basis to determine if there was a repetitive thing or if it was a training kind of thing. So.
I have to step away for about a minute and a half, but you guys could continue, and then I could watch this part that I missed.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, and then on the FAQs, once again, it's just kind of walking through some of the high-level things. So within the actual assessment software, you're going to see different widgets within there. This kind of helps you understand how the widgets are basically calculated within your system. And then we get into actual FAQs. A lot of this stuff came over from our pilot groups as far as anything that they saw within the system, how the functionality works. So anytime I started seeing within the feedback forms repetitive kind of questions, I ended up putting those out on the FAQs.
And how often were you updating those?
The FAQs?
Yeah.
Probably on a bi-weekly basis.
Okay.
So we're down to roughly 17 questions. So that's the website. And once again, you had a
Sorry,
question?
I was just gonna say, do you constantly get new questions that you're adding, or is this it's kind of leveled out since you've implemented it?
You know, it's a great question. I was just looking this morning on, so we're funneling everybody into it. I kicked off the email yesterday to, I think it was 17 sites
Yeah.
to start the process with the implementation.
Right.
And on our Google Forms on the back side, if I look at my tech survey, if I open that up, I do have, and once again, I use this for the pilot group as well, but I did have a new submission yesterday.
Okay.
So once again, this is just kind of becoming easy to understand what's going on at the studio. So you just pop this open, you look through it, you know, you understand everything that's going on, and it's going to be the same thing for, I'll flip back into the actual assessment feedback form.
Okay.
And if we look at that, we have 68 responses, and if I download those, I think I had, and a lot of these are already cleared out, I just haven't taken them out of the feedback
Got it.
portion of it. I haven't created a new document, but I did have a couple that were on 526. So people that had a couple questions about system enhancements. And once again, this is kind of one of those things where I work with Eric, depending on what's being asked. So they're looking for, you know, once again, you kind of have to read through them and say, is this an enhancement, or is this more of a process issue or functionality issue or whatever it may be?
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I look at this usually on a weekly basis, and then depending on what comes out of it, I have a bi-weekly with Eric on the assessment. So if anybody requests like earlier on, we had a lot of assessment test requests. So like a cardio, VO2, they were requesting. So a lot of that stuff I get with Eric to kind of talk through and see if it's something that they want to put into the system.
Got it. Okay.
So that is, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, quick question. I saw it on the survey. Are the studios getting the choice to use the Wi-Fi ones where they actually have to plug the sensors into the ceiling, so to speak, or are there some studios that are using those plug-in ones?
It's a great question.
Or I guess
And
in the ceiling are hardwired and the plug-in ones are Wi-Fi.
yeah, and just to update you, and I forgot to update you on this, we decided to roll the actual heart rate monitoring portion of this system into next year. So we're not supporting it. We're not encouraging it at the studios. We are going to continue on with our existing pilot studios. They already have the Wi-Fi sensors in their studios, and they're going to continue piloting it based off of kind of direction from us. So,
Okay.
so when I ask a lot of those questions, it's just more for, like on the Wi-Fi, all that stuff. It's just more for kind of understanding what their current system looks like so that we can encourage them to potentially do something different based off of the minimum requirements, or if they're going to use tablets, then they have to update their Wi-Fi, all that fun stuff.
Okay, so we're not dealing with the sensors and that sort of thing. This is truly an assessment thing only until Eric decides he wants to do the other piece.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
All right. So that is the website and kind of implementation overview. I'll hop into. All right. So obviously this is the admin side of things, but it's going to kind of look and feel exactly like you'd see on the Fit 36 side. You have your location, so I can click on here to see all the locations within the system under FT. Then you can drill into the actual each locations. We have analytics, challenges. The only thing that you're going to see different here is trainer portal. Settings is going to be the same. I will make that note as well. So if we go into, I'll start out with the trainer portal. So within the trainer portal, what that does is, or maybe I'll start with actually the location because the trainer portal, it'll help you put it together here. So we go into location. What this does is it obviously connects into MindBody, and what it does is it pulls over all the appointments and all the classes that they have. So some of the FT sites are still running PAC classes, so the way the system is designed, it'll actually pull in those PAC classes and it will pull in all the appointments. So as you see here,
Does it pull in past ones, or is it, you know, today and moving forward it pulls in?
it pulls them in. It'll pull in all past ones as well. Or are you saying when I first connect?
Well, like, so if you connected a studio to MindBody today and
Yep.
it's 6/2, when the schedule loads, is it loading 6/2 and forward, or could I look at April 15th in there?
Yeah, I've never tried that before. I would assume that it is only going to pull in today going forward, but if you change the parameters on the find date or the filter date, it should reach back out to MindBody to pull in that information.
Okay, we don't have to test it then. I don't know if you knew offhand. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know offhand, but I know when we first
Okay.
connect, it kind of goes from today forward.
That makes
So
the
as you-
most sense.
Yeah, so as you see here, once again, we have all of our assessments, or I'm sorry, all of our appointments for the day. So as a business owner, when I log into the system, it's going to be kind of like MindBody, where you can log in and you can see all your trainers and who's coming in for the whole day. It's going to be the same type of thing. I can see who's coming in today, and I can see who they're training with and what room they're attached to for that particular training session. It's going to be the same thing if I go, like I said before, if they have classes. Any PAC classes, this will pull in those classes and they can actually open those up and then see the individuals that are there for the PAC classes and check them in if they want to as well. Some of the other features, general workout, you guys aren't going to use. The next thing is going to be members that you'll use. This goes out and it pulls in all active members from MindBody. So that was one of the things that I want to make sure that studios kind of do is clean up or deactivate or whatever they want to do with their system. They want to make sure that they kind of clean some of that stuff up, because when we connect, it's going to pull in basically all active clients. And then obviously as the way the system works as it continuously grows into the future. It's not like if they deactivate a client in MindBody, it's going to pull them out of FitMetrics. It's always going to house that data. So their list in FitMetrics is going to perpetually grow in clients, whereas in MindBody, if they decide to deactivate people, it's going to, be a little bit more maintainable. And the reason for that is because if I have John that comes in and he's been a client with me, we've done assessments for, let's say a year, and then he's no longer a client with me. We want to keep that assessment data within the system in case he ever comes back 6 months later. We want to have that information in the site. So that's why we continuously grow the list within FitMetrics. Some of the things Yep.
Assuming if they activate a client in MindBody that was not active, that they'll just then show up in FitMetrics?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct. So once again, within the members, we can kind of scroll through, do a search for the different members. One of the neat things about this is from a member standpoint, or I'm sorry, as a studio owner standpoint, you can actually go in and you can kind of do your full days of activity within one login. Instead of having a trainer login and a business side login, you can log in, you can see your day's appointments, you can look at different metrics, and you can do assessments out of this portal as well. It's as simple as going into members, finding the member that you're actually going to train. And if I click on this side of things, it's going to bring up their mini profile, which you kind of saw yesterday with Fit36, where you can update some of the information here, add a heart rate, deal with goals or instructors. But if I go back to it, this is where you actually, if you click on details, it's going to flip over into the assessment portal side of things. So if Kim's coming in, I'm training her and I'm the studio owner, I can log in with one login ID, come in and start doing the assessment with Kim. And as you kind of look at this, you're going to see all kinds of different, data points. You're going to see not only their name on the left-hand side, you're going to see all the different tabs in the middle with dashboard, health, photos, and then you're going to see some widgets on the upper left, right-hand side, and stuff like that. So all of those widgets are all derived from the data that you enter within this site. And I think we were talking about this last Wednesday, where anytime you bring in somebody fresh, brand new, there's a little bit of a kind of a flow that you want to go through with a brand new client, so that you're making sure that you capture and update these widgets kind of systematically. And then once they're in the system and we've done at least one assessment with them, then you can go in and actually just kind of pick and choose what you want to do and what you want to update within the system. So I'll show you this and I'll come back to this, because I wanted to show you this for the functionality of going back out to here, and then we'll go back up to the top portion here. And we'll hop back into Trainer Portal. So you have your settings for everybody, and then you also have the Trainer Portal, which is settings for the actual assessments. So within the Trainer Portal, you're going to see and be able to customize any of the intake forms or health questionnaires. This is where you'll take care of any of the assessments. When you're adding new assessments, you'll do that out of here. And then, what's the last one? Health forms, and then general. So general is just kind of showing some of the different features on our measurements. You can, obviously if you don't want to show, or if you're not doing blood glucose levels or showing resting heart rates, whatever it may be, you can kind of configure some of those last pieces within this portion of it. Goals, what this is it's more of days between assessments. So this is your, I'm trying to think of how to really say this. This is kind of the standard. So as I am going in and scheduling assessments within the assessment software, our standard is roughly 6 weeks. I think, and I hope that's what 42 days are, roughly about 6 to 8 weeks. I can't remember what I put in there. But that is going to be the staple, so that when I start calculating these things and when I start kind of scheduling out things, the system is automatically going to know that if I had John in for an assessment today it is going to, and I don't reschedule John, by the time I hit that 6 weeks, it's going to show John as red instead of as blue within the members portal. Or not the members portal, but the trainers portal. So at least it reminds me that, hey, John hasn't been in for at least 6 weeks, so I need to schedule him for another assessment. That's one kind of fail-safe, and that's what that catches. And the other one is, I'll kind of show you by scheduling them out. That's the other fail-safe as well. So if you're doing, let's say you want to do an assessment every 3 weeks because that's what the person wants, then you schedule it out every 3 weeks. And then once they're on that schedule, if they miss that 3 week, then their profile circle will turn to red.
Okay.
It's a lot of information, I know. But it might make some more sense when I get into showing you what those members look like.
No, that makes sense.
Okay. Health forms, once again, this is within the assessment portal. We can do updates to the health forms if we want to drag sections, if we want to take out sections. I will say that this section right here has already been told to all FT people that are coming in that this is going to change. They can certainly use this. They can certainly, implement it if they want, but it is going to change because Eric wants to change the implementation, or not, the intake process at the end of this year. He wants to kind of take a look at that and then build a form within here that's going to coincide with an intake process. So you won't ever have to worry about this until they start working through the new process for intake. But this is where you would find a form.
Sorry, is this something that you change in one place and it changes in all the ST FitMetrics sites, or will this have to be manually adjusted in each studio's FitMetrics site?
It's you adjust it here and it pushes out to all sites.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I would agree. And the last thing are tests. So right now, here's where all the tests reside. If you need to manage a test, you can open it up. If you need to make changes to it, so if they need to, who knows what they might want to change. Maybe they want a different design on the image, or if they want a better description within here as well. So this is where you could go and update existing tests, and once again, it pushes out to the whole system. But if you want to actually manage tests and add a test, you simply go through that process of adding the test, naming it, deciding what the measurement's going to be, adding some other graphical, things to it, and then descriptions. And then once you set that, then it'll flow into our different categories. It's going to be the same thing with categories as well. We have different categories right now. We have our cardio, movement, muscular endurance, and FMS. So these are the categories where everything is flowing into. In the future, if they decide to add another category, this is where you do it, and then you can push tests into that category. So as a caveat to it, one of the things that I'm working with FitMetrics on is being able to turn on and off categories for different studios. Because one of the things that we have is some of our Florida studios, they do a lot of assessments for the elderly per se, and they don't do, a 1 minute push-up test or whatever it may be. So they're looking for something a little bit more customizable specifically to their segment of population. So in the future, we could potentially build out like tests for senior citizens or whatever it may be, and then we can only open it up to those studios that would use those and wouldn't use the other ones. So.
Okay. What's FMS stand for?
Functional movement something.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, it's big on the East Coast. They kicked and screamed for it. So I hear what it means.
Okay.
So, functional movement, system, I guess is what it is.
Okay.
So that's from the admin side of things. Like I said, you can run analytic reports out of here. You can do a couple different things, but it's just basically from a business standpoint, you can kind of see how things are going, and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to flip over into an actual, what a trainer would log in and see. So when a trainer logs in, it's always going to pop into their daily appointments. As you can see, we lost a lot of functionality compared to what a business owner would see. We only see a dashboard, manage, and then challenges. But it's always going to open up to your daily activity, and it's always going to fall on that calendar. So as you can see here, here's everybody that's scheduled to meet with me today. I can advance if I want to and see who's in tomorrow, so on and so forth. With those, as you can see here, one of the things that's kind of interesting is we don't have anybody scheduled for an assessment today, and you would denote that by a blue circle around their head. So I'll go back into clients so you can see the difference between a blue circle and a red circle. So if I were to come in as a trainer, I would be able to automatically identify who's coming in for an assessment today and if they're overdue, past due, whatever it may be. Some of the other functionality that we have in here is check-ins. So if I want to check in my client, I can go simply through the check-in process, and this gets passed off to MindBody as a check-in into the system. So we check that individual in. The next thing is going to be start session. This is more for your heart rate monitoring portion of things. So if once we roll that out, this is actually where you would start your heart rate monitoring for that particular session. So you go check them in, you get them ready for the session, and then you click on start session, start that, and then it flips over into a heart rate monitoring screen for that session. The next thing is we schedule sessions. Once again, everybody has been told that this does not connect into MindBody. This is more for calendar purposes. So if you want to, it's more for the studios that want to at least start booking out assessments within the software so that they can be reminded of who's upcoming, who's past due. This is just more for scheduling internally for the system, but they have been told that it doesn't connect into MindBody, so they have to make sure it's either they use this as a reminder or they just do what they're supposed to do and go into MindBody and then schedule them into their appointment calendar 6 weeks out like they should, and then it will flow back into the assessment software that they're booked for an assessment, and then it'll flow into here just like it should.
So FitMetrics is to understand that so it automatically knows if a certain appointment type in MindBody is scheduled, that means it's an assessment?
Correct.
Or are you saying that they have to schedule it in both systems?
They don't have to schedule it in both systems. If they schedule the assessment, I saw on Santa Monica when we opened that up that the first appointment this morning was a retest. So what that will do is it'll come into the assessment portal as a retest, and then it'll get flagged as that's considered an assessment. So then it'll throw the blue circle or the red circle around that individual.
So I think we have 2 appointment types in MindBody that could be used for assessments. Is it only reading the retest one, or is it reading that other one as well?
The other one as well.
Okay.
And the reason why,
yeah. Again, really.
Yep. And the reason why I show the calendar here is because studios are requesting that right now their practices, they don't throw them on MindBody calendar, they just throw them on like an iCalendar or whatever it may be, and they want something built into the system so that at least they can put it on the calendar to then kind of look at the month and see who I have coming up so I can schedule them and confirm that they're going to be coming in for that particular assessment. I will say that this will change in the future. We are working with FitMetrics to fully integrate this scheduling into MindBody scheduling as well.
And does Josh, do you have anything with Josh, like a feature request, project proposal, anything that you're tracking with him?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Some of the stuff I've submitted into him, I do have in some of my documents. It's mostly been because we've been on a fast burn. Everything has been more bug fixes, enhancement requests to get the system up and ready for phase 1 rollout. Going into the future, he has my long-term, which is connecting this into MindBody as far as doing all the scheduling through here. That's probably the biggest one that we're trying to push for by October.
Okay, and do you have like checkpoints or scope of projects laid out for like in a spreadsheet or anything?
No, unfortunately, it doesn't really work that well with those guys
Hmm.
in
Okay.
that nature. So it's just more
No,
of
I just
a,
meant for yourself, like if you're tracking different things you hope to
oh,
have in the future or anything like that.
yeah, I mean, I'm tracking some of it at this point,
Okay.
but it's been pushed off to them, and then I try to get updates on where they're sitting with their sprint cycles and what's in their backlog, and it's kind of pulling teeth a little bit. So
Got it. Okay.
just so you know.
Sorry, guys.
Yep. So some of the other things, I know we have 10 minutes left here, but some of the other things here I want to kind of highlight are the upcoming past due. So this is going to show anything that's upcoming as far as appointments, or I'm sorry, assessments that are upcoming and past due assessments. So at least a person or a trainer can log in and say, okay, Jeff hasn't been in for their assessment for that many days. We need to get him on the schedule. I'll flip over into the client side of things. This is kind of one of those things where we're going to try to get this into a report, but right now you can go through your list of clients and you can visually see who's been scheduled for an assessment. As you can see here, everybody with a blue circle has an assessment coming up at some point in the future. Anybody with a red circle has overdue assessment, so we've scheduled one, but we never performed it, so it's red. And then anybody without an actual circle around them means that they don't have anything booked into the future. So that's one thing that we're trying to get into a report so that a manager can quickly run a report and say, okay, you know, out of all these clients, you know, 12 of them have never been scheduled for an assessment, so let's get them in, scheduled for it. This is kind of the, you know, the poor man's report when it comes to who's scheduled for an assessment coming up or who's passed due
So
on their assessment.
the blue circle means assessment scheduled, not assessment scheduled today, or is it different between this screen and the schedule screen?
Correct. So the schedule screen means that nobody has an assessment scheduled for today. The client screen is, hey, Dan has an assessment scheduled at some point in the future. We know that for sure, but it's not today, based off of the schedule. Some of the other things, classes, once again, those pull in. If you have any classes, the PAC classes that they're running, general workout, we won't use. Class type, they don't use in heart rate monitoring. It's going to be more for, like I said before, if we have any kind of loaners within the studio, this is where you would manage those loaners for the heart rate monitor. Going back into the client, I will go into Steven here. I'll kind of breeze through some of this stuff. Once again, Steven's been in for assessments before. We kind of see different things here. These two widgets on the left-hand side, or actually these three widgets, are more for your heart rate monitoring. So until we implement the heart rate monitoring, these will always stay at 0 unless they connect into a heart rate monitoring. Estimated calorie burns is based off of a calculation on their weight and some other stuff that we enter into the system. The generate report, this is going to be the big thing for studio. So as they're doing assessments, one of the things that they always do is they perform the assessment and then they generate a comprehensive report for the actual individual. Here's where you do that, and it is as simple as basically generating a report, going through checking what you want your report to look like, and then you add in the date, range, and then generate, and then it generates reports. And it always keeps all of the reports that you have within your system. It shows the last 3 that you have here, but you can put view all reports, and it gives you a list of all the reports that you've generated for that client in case you need to regenerate or reprint one out for them. Down here is measurements. This is just, I mean, it's a cool widget, but in all honesty, they should probably make it a little bit different to capture some other information because it's not like measurements change over the course of a month. Some of the other things here are, you know, weight, body fat, BMI, lean body mass. Once again, it's all derived from the inputs that you put in from the measurement screen. And then you can see their workouts, the tests, some of the tests that you've done with them in the past, and then the appointments that they have scheduled. It's all going to function through here. So this is kind of a one-stop shop. So as your client comes in, the trainer clicks on the client, it brings up this screen, and they say real quickly, okay, this is where we're sitting with this client. You know, here's some of the last assessments that I've done, and then we can start pushing through and kind of taking care of some of the other stuff. Health forms, Once again, you can generate a health form, save it off. You can always bring in prior health forms if you need to make updates to it by clicking on it. And it will bring in your prior health form, make updates, and then save it back off, or you can create a brand new one as well. Photos. You can take photos either by importing it through your computer, or if you have a tablet, you can take your tablet and actually take a screenshot with the tablet that pushes the information into these different functional areas. Tests, we kind of went through that, so you can click on the test. You can decide, okay, we're going to do, you know, the VO2 for him. It is simple as basically going in, you start your test, you record your data. We do have backdating functionality within here, so if for some reason they take the test and they forget to enter it in, they can always backdate it to the prior day or whatever it may be. You enter the measurement in, and then you can add notes. And this is kind of like texting, so as you add notes to it, you just, you know, add a note, save it off. And it is going to continuously collect all of these notes. So as different trainers come in and do this assessment, this one in particular, they can see all the different notes from all the trainers that has performed that assessment on this client. Some of the other things, we can trend data as well. So if you want to see a quick snapshot of how he's been doing over the past year, I don't know if this will bring anything up. No, I haven't collected anything on him for this. So it'll kind of give you a little bit of a trend, so you can kind of see and kind of let them know, here's where you trended. You know, let's try to kick some butt today. Measurements, kind of self-explanatory. We go through, enter in measurements based off of their body, weight. We can enter in weight, the goals, percent body fat. We can do a calculation. One of the things that we entered in here is the Pollock 3-pinch calculation point, so they can actually take the 3 pinches, save it off, and it'll automatically calculate the current body fat. You can enter in the goals, and this information kicks off and then spits out into these 2 tiles. You can do backdating on this as well. Medical, same kind of thing. And then, sorry for breezing through this, but this is the last big thing that we have here. Is going to be the trainer notes. So we can kick trainer notes either to the client, or we can hide them so they're internal. But if we send them to client, we can do a couple different things. We can either send it by email, or we can send it by text message, or we can send it by both. So if we want to say, you know, you did great, don't forget to do 50 push-ups every night, we can type that in here, submit it, and it shoots off to their either, you know, phone or to an email. And then in the future, when we have a members portal where they can log in, we can also send it off and it'll get tagged into their members portal so they can log in and see the different messages that they have from the individual. And you can see it's denoted by 2 different things here, where the little eyeball with a cross through it means that that's internal, and then the regular is just viewable for everybody to see. All right, so with 3 minutes left, you guys have any questions?
Real quick, for the texting feature of the notes, if the client's profile doesn't note that they want to be contacted via text, will that icon disappear so that you can't actually text them, or does it just assume everybody wants to be contacted via text?
I'm going to assume that it's going to assume everybody wants text, but I will have to ask Josh if it pulls in that checkbox and determines based off of that. Okay. So that's the down and dirty of it.
Thank you.
Oh, let me show you this, because I thought this was kind of real powerful. The actual comprehensive report. Let me show you a different one.
Well, you're looking for that. Do we have it set up on the admin side so that we can pull reports at the aggregate from the studios?
It's not by aggregate, it's still by location, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah. So here's a comprehensive report. So I thought this was really cool because this was like almost 1.5 years worth of data that we pushed in here. And this is real, something that came out of an FT. So as you can see here, this lady, she started at this, and over the course of a year, she went down this far.
That's
And once again,
amazing.
isn't it? I know. I thought this is just mind blowing. I presented this at the FT conference. I'm just like, man, I mean, why wouldn't you sign up? So it goes
Right.
into, yeah, weight, body fat, body mass index. And once again, the reports are only as good as the data that you enter into it. So if you're really good at about entering your data, I mean, these clients are going to get just awesome reports. And it shows everything that you've entered into it, all that fun stuff. So, all right, that's the last thing I wanted to share. So,
Thank you.
yep,
Thank you.
I'm going to stop recording this, Zoe. I don't know if you already left, but
No, I'm here.
okay, I'm going to stop.